Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. And it's hard to believe, Tate. It's been a wild ride. We are now finished with not only spring fling, but the crazy sports year that was 2021.
We made it. Got everything in. Missed a few football games here or there, a few basketball games here or there, but every season, every playoff, every postseason completed. Job well done. Well, I think that's the way to tie it all up. Job well done.
Well, you know, and for me, now I don't want anybody out there to take this wrong, but what I was the most worried about, I mean, I want everybody to be able to compete and want you to lose your last game out there on the field or win, but certainly those teams that had really legit shots of being state champions, those teams you were extra nervous about in terms of, is a quarantine going to keep them out of the tournament? So fortunately, we really didn't have a lot of that.
No. I mean, after, a few hiccups in basketball, but after football season, volleyball season, girls soccer, there was some volleyball. That was a tough one to swallow for Ravenwood. But once we really got about to 2021, I think those kind of fears went away, right? You might get a basketball one here, but spring got here and it was wide open.
We hit our stride, so to speak.
No doubt about it.
Got used to what the requirements were.
And our teams hit their stride.
Oh, they did. They did, which we're going to talk about in a second. But before we do that, I do want to mention John Mayer Builders, great sponsor of Williamson County Schools Athletics. They, along with the Williamson Herald, they recognize athletes every month across the county. And then they had a little banquet at the end, which was this week. They brought all those athletes in, and I'm telling you, an impressive group of people. Great athletes, great in the classroom, and then there were 4 scholarships of $2,000 apiece, again sponsored by John Mayer Builders, that they awarded. And it was all random because they were all deserving. They just drew it out. John Winley, Grant Reeder on the boys' side, John of Brentwood, Grant of Nolansville. On the girls' side, Josie Polk, Abby Orr, Josie of Page, Abby of Centennial. So great event.
Yeah.
Thank you to Mayer Builders for doing that.
Great event. They've been doing it for a lot of years, put a lot of scholarship dollars in a lot of Wilco student athletes' futures. Very cool.
And at the Wilcos, they sponsor the Sportsmanship Award.
Yep.
$5,000 scholarship.
That's a big one.
It's a big one.
And I believe they've been doing that since the very beginning of the Wilcos.
I think that's probably safe to say, at least fairly early.
Yes.
You think Dr. Quall stumbled upon that, or he really had to go out and do a little research? Or
I'm guessing Mr. Mayor reached out to him and said, I want to be a part, and this is the award I want to do. And Dr. Quall, he wasn't doctor at the time, and Dr. Quall said, I can make that happen.
And he was salivating.
Yes.
Hey, listen.
How quickly can I get you to sign this?
Let's talk some spring fling. And we knew this was going to be great for us. Talking WCS. Here's some stats for you, Tate. Team championships at spring fling, 2. That would be Ravenwood boys tennis, Brentwood girls track. 2 team runners-up, Franklin girls tennis, Page boys soccer. And then Final 4, Summit softball, Nolansville and Ravenwood girls track. Semifinals also, Nolansville, Franklin boys soccer, Nolansville baseball, Franklin boys soccer. And Tate, as we were talking before, a couple of things stood out to you in looking through that, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And the biggest thing that jumped out to me, they're all big achievements, but let's just talk about ladies, women's track and field. The state champs, large class, Brentwood, which I don't know, though, which one we thought was more of a lock, Brentwood girls track or Ravenwood boys tennis. I mean, those were both like slam dunks. This is coming. But Brentwood girls track, they take number 1. And in Ravenwood and Nolansville, tie for 3rd in the large classification of track and field. That's unbelievable.
It really is. And let's add to that, Holland Powers, I think, finished 6th.
6th. Behind, I believe it was Bartlett. She had 34.5 points. If she had have competed on her own, she would have placed in the top 6 in the large classification of the track and field. Think
Hey,
about that.
congratulations to Bartlett. You beat Holland by a couple points.
I think it was two points or something like that.
What an event she had, which we'll get to. Hey, Tate.
Well, and remember, she was on the relay team. She didn't personally get those points.
Oh, that's true.
So technically, she probably did beat them. No, she did beat them.
Hey, individual.
And real quick, Nolansville in the semifinals, I went ahead and I gave them third place.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Because,
Coach Hudson, I gave you third.
which I understand. But technically, I think it's each side. But they were playing longer. It was down to, because
third.
the other side was already out. Individual championships at Spring Fling, 11. Individual runners-up, 10, which again we'll get to here. Hey, Tate, speaking of Nolansville baseball, they start off the tournament with a 4-1 win over Signal Mountain. Game 2, which really was the big one.
Right.
They lose 4-0 against Pigeon Forge, and that got them behind the 8 ball a little bit. They turn around and they get a big win over Ripley, 11-10, and then now they've got to come back, beat Pigeon Forge twice. That first game we saw, 18-5. The bats were hot. They had over 20 hits, but then they fall just short, 3-2. So a great run by Nolansville, but you were talking again before the show that really the secret weapon that they didn't use every game was us.
Well, I hate to say it. You and I were in attendance at 2 games. Coach Hudson knows this. And the 2 games we were there, we won. The Knights won. And so
it's our fault. It's our fault.
Could be. But, I mean, we can't be everywhere at once, right?
Right.
We were there for the 18-5 game. Holy cow, was that fun to watch.
Gosh, it was.
I mean, I know they turned over the batting order twice. I think they almost did it twice in 1 inning at one point. I mean, it was, wasn't it?
And that poor pitcher
We were talking about
Pigeon Forge are like, listen, you've got 130 pitches or whatever it is, just you're in.
Yeah, they're not taking you out.
No.
And we talked about that. We were with Mr. Gunner and we talked about that, and it was one of those things where you almost felt bad. Like I'm sitting there thinking, you know, I hate that this has to happen to this poor young man, but as a Knights fan, it was fun to watch. And I mean, there were some rockets. Mr. Hummel hit some rockets. Harper. I mean, it was
McIlvain, who he had to bring in his birth certificate with him to the tournament. I mean, he's a sophomore, but he sure doesn't look like a sophomore, does he?
Or play like it.
That's a grown man out there playing. He obviously had a great tournament. Hey, I went back and looked. In the game, they had 20 hits against Pigeon Forge. These names all had multiple hits.
Yeah.
Hummel, Jenkins, McIlvain, Harper, Cluck, Raines, Hill, Riggs.
That's amazing.
They all had 2 or more hits in that game. It's incredible.
All coaching.
And us being there.
That's right. And us and fan support.
Now, that final game, they were down 3-0. So we thought that next game would be another shootout because, again, you're short on pitching. But actually, the pitching sort of stepped up. And then Nolansville had just 1 hit through the first 5 innings. And we're only talking a couple hours later. It's crazy how this happens. But in the 6th inning, they get 3 straight hits. Quentin Jenkins and Eric Harper with RBIs to cut the lead to 3-2. They left a guy stranded on third base in that 6th inning. And then in the 7th, they go down in order. But again, great run by Coach Hudson in Nolansville baseball. And you get the sense this will continue even with the move up.
They're pretty young. So get ready for another run. And we talk about it all the time on Spring Fling. It can be done, but coming out of that loser's bracket in baseball is so hard. You just run out of arms, and that's exactly what happened to Nolansville. But still, fought till the end, and yep, they're going to be back. They got some big-time players coming back. Going to be fun.
You know, talking about that, Gibbs, who won it, they played 4 games total because they went undefeated. Nolansville played 5.
Right.
So, you know, that's a pretty tough deal. And I'm just wondering, too, now, again, let's don't get less teams in the tournament, right? Although in tennis there's 4. The way that tournament is set up, it almost seems too much.
It's a lot. I've always thought that. I mean,
What do the baseball people, I know they're glad
I
to
think
make
they
it,
li- yeah.
but I'm just wondering if you go 8 and go single elimination.
I've always thought it, but I think the baseball guys like the double elimination.
Because when you get down to, think about this, when Nolansville's playing Game 5, it's not exactly like they both had their aces on the hill.
Right.
It was more like, in fact, we were talking to Mr. Gunner about this before. He was talking about there's going to be some JV guys who haven't pitched any varsity. And they're going to maybe be pitching in that next game. That seems a little off to me.
It's too many arms, too many pitches. And remember, had they won, they'd had to play a 6th game, right? So what would it have gotten to then? But, I don't know. Maybe they would have been able to bring back in their 1 and 2, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's too much. I guess what they would say in basketball is, it's single elimination, but if you're runner-up in the region, you move on.
Right.
So I think it's especially they don't start playing till Tuesday, right? Or did they play?
Right.
Yeah, they didn't
Well,
start playing
I'll
till
be
Tuesday.
honest with you. Now that we're talking about this, and this is where the commissioners of the
They need to put
TSSAA.
us on the board of control.
Well, but here's the thought. Think about this. The pentathlon and decathlon happened a few
Right.
days before spring fling. So if you started baseball a little bit early and maybe had that weekend, maybe that would make a difference, because when you play it in that short a period of time, 5 games in 3 days, potentially 6 in 3 days, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a whole lot. So anyway,
But then you'd have to back up sectionals and
right. And it could rain. And
that's right.
so anyway, but congratulations again to Coach Hudson's in Nolansville. Just a great season. Ended up 27-11
No
on the season.
2020, so 2 years in a row, Final Four of the state baseball tournament. Strong.
And their best chance to win it was probably last year,
That's right.
which is a bummer for them. Softball, great story here with Summit. They make their first appearance in the state tournament, and what do? They do finish 3rd. Coach Stevenson and Summit with a great run. They start the tournament with a 5-2 win over Daniel Boone, and then it was like one of those, hey, fortunate you're in the bracket with Siegel, who's really the favorite at 34-1. They get beat, so now you're taking on Dyer County. They win 4-0 in that game, and now they're in the winner's bracket final. You win the winner's bracket final, you're probably going to win it.
Correct.
They play a tough Farragut team. They're down 1-0 in the 5th. They leave the bases loaded. They leave 2 on in the 6th. But they've been the cardiac kids all year long. In the 7th inning, Hannah Sundberg leads off with a double. The next 2 batters are retired. And then Miss Multi-Sport athlete herself, Claudette Runk, steps up, delivers with an RBI single. We go to extra innings. So if they could have pulled that one off, we're probably talking about them being state champions.
Coulda, wouldas, man. I mean, but that's sports, right? Game of play here, play there, But yeah, and Farragut was really good, or is really good. So, yeah, they win that game. They're sitting pretty, but they didn't. And it's tough, man. Tough.
In that 8th inning against Farragut, really uncharacteristic. They had 3 errors, Summit did, and they go down 5-1. Morgan Woodside gets a hit in the bottom of the 8th, but she was left stranded. And in that game, 14 runners stranded, which obviously had something to do with the outcome.
When they go back and look at it, that's the story of the game. Happens sometimes, but when you got to point to one thing, that's it.
And then Elena Escobar, who did a great job pitching there for Summit, wasn't able to pitch in that final game. And it was early the next day. They'd played late. They played Coffee County next. These aren't excuses, by the way. This is just what happened.
What happened?
Alden Mathis and Claudette Runk get a couple of hits in that last game, that loss to Coffee County. Coffee County was hot that morning, hit a couple of grand slams in that game. Summit, again, finishes 3rd, 25-9 on the year. What a fantastic season.
Fantastic season. They've kind of asserted themselves as king of the hill in softball in Wilco, which is not easy to do, and they don't plan on giving that up anytime soon. We've talked about it. Coach Stevenson's done a great job of building that program. And man, you were talking about those grand slams. I love, like, the Nolansville game when we watched it. When those bats get hot, that's fun to watch. But there's nothing like when the bats get hot in softball, man. That is exciting.
It is.
And fun to watch. It just happened to be on the other team. But yeah, great year by Summit. I mean, unbelievable year. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Soccer. We'll start off with Franklin. They opened the tournament with a 3-0 win over Columbia before losing in the semifinals to Bearden. Landon Robbins with 2 goals and Benji Wright with a goal in game 1. In the semifinals, they fall behind 1-0 after 18 minutes. Bradley Whalen, Landon Robbins, they combined for 7 shots on goal. They just couldn't get one to drop. And it has happened so many times in soccer. You get that lead, makes a difference. Again, great year by Coach Burgoyne in Franklin. They finished 13-4. And man, did they get hot at the right time. Because really all year, it was really Brentwood. It was Franklin too, but most of our conversations were about Brentwood. But Franklin,
we thought they were both going to be there.
No doubt. And we thought the best chance to win was Brentwood.
Correct.
Didn't turn out that
Coach
way.
Burgoyne and the Admirals proved us wrong.
Yes, they did.
Pretty. For those that are high school fans, high school athletics fans of the whole state, kind of fitting, or ironic that Bearden, their arch rival, is who? The Farragut Admirals, and then that's who put us out the first year being the Admirals, which I never did like the Bearden Bulldogs, man. Now I really don't like them, but they're just always a thorn in the Admirals' side. Now the Franklin Admirals.
I had to run into Bearden too a couple times there.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, flashbacks.
Yeah, I really did. I zoned out there for a second, so I appreciate that.
I apologize.
Hey, let's move to this week's.
But I hate that.
Let's move to this week's gym. It's a good one. Franklin, who we just talked about, they were the last team to defeat our other soccer team that made it deep all the way to the finals, Page High School. Franklin had defeated Page earlier in the year. Page didn't lose again until the championship, and man, they lost on a heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker.
15 seconds left. I was already planning for, you get the 2, you're going to have the 20 minutes for sure if it ends up tied. And Page actually has control of the ball. 30 seconds left, changes ends of the field. The young man from Sevier County makes a great play, a great hustle play. He's following the play. It's a rebound. I wouldn't call it a fluke, but not something you expect to see happen with 15 seconds left. So great year by Coach Clapp and Page to make it all the way to the final. But man, what a heartbreaking way to lose.
Oh yeah, it's just one of those things. Like you said, it wasn't a fluke. You can't take that away from them. But if you played that game 50 times, 100 times, that's the only time that ending happens like that. But I don't even know what you say. What do you tell? You've been in a locker room like that before. What do you tell them?
Well, not that quite that late in the year, but I don't know what you say. I mean, you really don't. I did notice that Coach Clapp was very positive. He talked about, one, this is the second time they've been in that game. 2017, they lost to Greenville 1-0. He said, we're ready. You can just sense that next time we get that chance, we're ready to make that next step. And then he also talked about just a great play by that young man and said, hey, that's something that we can learn from too. You never give up on a play, and that's what happened there. So I thought it was positive. Obviously, I think in those situations as an athlete, it's hard to even probably process what the coach is saying. You're so distraught about that loss. But certainly they'll look back on it and be very proud, again, making it to the final. They had a couple of 1-0 wins early in the tournament. And really, that quarterfinal against Howard, they score in the 98th minute a goal by Jack Sanders. So, they really could have been eliminated there. So they survived that. They move on to the semifinals, and they really dominated that game against Greenville. 31 shots on goal. Nolan Colliday with an early penalty kick. And really, it's interesting to me with soccer, I think I've learned this about soccer the last few years, is you can dominate a soccer match and the score be 1-0.
Yes.
It's about what part of the field's the ball on, the number of shots on goal. Page dominated that semifinal.
Oh, they did. And Nolan Colliday, you mentioned him, he's scoring the goal. He's been hot the whole postseason. He was the one who hit the goal against Central Magnet to even get them there. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. The whole game, can be played on that side of the field, and for whatever reason, the shots just aren't hitting. But you're right, you dominated. And you've also seen it. We saw it on the girls' side in the final with Ravenwood and Franklin. You know, Franklin dominated that first half, and then all of a sudden, it was like, what just happened? And Ravenwood dominated another one. But yeah, anytime you get 31 shots on goal, two things. One, you dominated that game. Two, I don't know who Greenville's goalkeeper is. He's a dude. He probably needed an ice bath afterwards. But, you know, those things are coming at you.
Bullets.
It's like dodgeball, man.
19 wins for Page.
Most ever, right?
And that's a lot of wins in soccer. It's a lot of wins in a lot of sports, but in soccer, it's a huge number. Again, that last loss before the final was to Franklin, who obviously is a pretty good team since they made the Final Four in the large class. And they also gave up the fewest goals in a season for any Page team, which is saying something because they played more games, I'm assuming, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
because they made it deep. So
that's right.
A couple of great stats there. Great season. Again, you get the sense they're going to be back.
They'll be back.
Let's talk a little track. I know you're excited to talk about track. You are the local expert when it comes to track. You already mentioned on the girls' track side, Brentwood, they finished first with 73 points, 73. Ravenwood and Nolansville tied for third with 42. Then it's Indy, 12th, Summit, 29, Franklin, 41. And on the small class size, sometimes we don't get this in and mention it, but Fairview finishes in the top 10.
That track, and well, we were talking about it off air beforehand. A lot of people used to think of Fairview as a football school, right? And then think about all the, which I know you're going to get to when we get to the overall championships and runner-ups and things, but now we're, like you said, 10th in track and field, cross country, tennis. I mean, that overall athletic program has really taken off, and they're going to stay small class, right? They're in no jeopardy of going. So all they're going to do is keep climbing where they are, and don't be surprised if they're not up there winning the track and field state championship in the not too distant future.
Remember about the jar of olives.
Once you get that first one,
Wrestling.
Can we do this now?
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, all right.
Like, I didn't do it. I had the pen, so it kind of, there we go. So,
very good. Cardwellism.
I mean, it's great because it's right. You get that first one
It
out.
really is.
Bubba Derrick got that first one out, and now it's going to, I'm telling you, it's going to
They're
get
just rolling out.
Let's talk boys finish. Franklin leads the large class for WCS schools, finished 7th. Brentwood 13th, Ravenwood 22nd, Centennial 30th. In the small class, another top 10.
Yep.
Fairview finishes 9th. Now, this didn't have anything to do with our competitors, but we were fortunate enough to be there at the track and field. We were very warmly welcomed by the staff, having us down there on the field. But
Yes.
Talk about the excitement of the boys in particular. Girls too, but the boys 100
Oh my goodness.
and the 100 relay.
4x1 was something. But before we get to that, it was so great. We bumped into our good friend and WCS rival, but friend Mike Tribune and Joanne Tribune of Cane Ridge, who you know so well from basketball and football. And, I had a great time talking to him. And then the welcoming committee from Gallatin came, and the nice lady from our friends in Gallatin came and asked us if we were actually we were standing in the media. I think this is worth telling. We were standing in the media credentials area, really good seats or area. And
we are members of the media.
we had media. I mean, the passes did say media. And our good friend, the nice lady from the welcoming committee from Gallatin, came up and asked if we were actually going to take any pictures or if we were just going to stand in the way. So you started taking pictures. It was great.
I took a few. And I was taking a few.
Mr. Childress, that lady from Gallatin, keep bringing her back. She made us feel very welcome. Back to the 4x1. Has nothing to do with us, but Memphis Central. It was it who? No, it was Memphis Central and Bartlett. That's who it was. You're right. That's exciting. But I was talking about this with Krager this weekend. I would have loved to have seen the Memphis Central 4x1 versus the Pearl Cone 4x1. That would have been worth the price of admission.
I would go Pearl Cone.
I think so too. But man, that That anchor on the Memphis.
Who was arguing with his mother or somebody in the crowd about 10 seconds before the event started.
No, we don't. She's going, you run next.
And then he just, man, he could move.
There is nothing more exciting than large class finals on Thursday at track and field. Normally it's on Friday, but it was so fun. And on the girls' side, and we did so well on the boys' side, but on the girls' side, we flat went off.
We did. In fact, if you don't mind, Tate, tell our audience about our individual champions. We had 9 on the girls' side, 1 on the boys' side.
Now, I want you to think about that. 9. So 9 of the events on the girls' side, somebody from WCS won, okay? Now, Holland Powers, she goes first in the pentathlon, 10 points. She goes first in the girls' pole vault, 10 points. So right off the bat, Miss Powers has 20 points.
She's already top 20 for the
Top 20? I think it was top 15.
After 20? Oh,
Yeah,
20,
after
okay,
20,
so
yeah.
she's already top
Yeah.
15.
Elise Dobson comes in, high jump,
First
first
state champion
for Nolansville.
in track and field, right? Individual champion.
And as you know, not an easy event. I like watching the high jump. I'm a big fan of that. Then, and this is going to be tough when you talk about multi-sport athlete. How can you argue with what Reagan Grimes does? Starts on the volleyball team, had not they run into that, who knows where they end up in the postseason. She's missed double-double in basketball. She goes out, she wins the shot put, sets a school record by the discus. She set a school record by 40 feet. She wins the discus, she wins the shot put, and she's a junior, right?
I like her chances next
She's
year.
got a good shot. Jordan Rail from Ravenwood comes out, wins the 800. Then we watch this race, the 1,600 meters. Jane Halterman comes in first place. What grade is she in?
Freshman.
7
of 16 years they've won that independence.
Unbelievable. She wins and really wasn't close.
No, she wins going away.
Third place is Lee Walter of Page, and Vanderkolk is 5th place. I mean, it was just Wilco. All right, and then 4x4, which I love that event. That's a great relay for the girls. Or Brentwood 4x800 for the Brentwood girls.
And then our lone boys winner, Ryan Keaton, Fairview in the 800.
Yep. And I'd like to go back and look at that one. Maybe you know. If that's not the first individual state championship in track and field from Fairview, there's not been many of them.
Again,
He's in rare company.
they're making their move. Now let's talk runners up. 5 on the girls' side. So not only they win 9, we got 5 runners up. 4 on the boys' side. Kevin Vanderkolk, Brentwood, boys cross country. Elise Dobson, Nolansville, girls pentathlon, second to Holland Powers.
Right.
Ethan Duck of Centennial, boys pole vault. Miss Powers, again,
For those keeping
triple jump. Now she's up to 28 points,
28,
right?
there you go.
Sarah Tang, Independence, girls shot put. 4x8 team of Franklin High School on the boys' side. Matthew and Alyssa Andrea, the brother-sister team, both finished runner-up in the 1,600. And then another multi-sport athlete, Kelsey Gossage of Fairview, high jump. Hey, we ended with Fairview, all runners-up. And, of course, we had the state champion from Ryan Keaton. So, great showing there by Fairview.
Kelsey Gossage, she's in the conversation, multi-sport athlete.
I'm telling you, I love the multi-sport athlete.
I do too. And hey, I think we got to mention this. I know there's others. This is just the one I happen to see. So I don't want to, put one over the other. The unified track and field events and athletes. And we saw our man Fisher Anderson out there competing.
It's great.
Tucker Cathy, he's the head unified track and field coach,
That's right.
At Franklin. Really cool to see him out there, man. That's really neat. And I love how they weave that in. That was big.
It's great. Emma Shields,
Yep.
big-time soccer player out there. So, yeah, great event for sure. And Franklin does a great job there, Coach Cathy, with the unified track and field. Final event, let's talk some tennis. Boys from Ravenwood in the semifinals, they defeat Murfreesboro Central 4-2. Then in the championship, they defeat Collierville 4-3. And if I'm not mistaken, Tate, those two teams combined had like 2 seniors. So I got a feeling they've got a good chance of being back. It comes down to the final match. So on the singles side, you get wins from Patrick Delves, Michael Eastham, Tanner Wright. Okay, then it comes down to the doubles. It's 3-2. Ravenwood's up. Collierville wins the first, and these are going on at the same time. And they play what's called a pro set, an 8-game pro. They're just playing to 8. Collierville, it's 3-all. Ravenwood is down 5-4 in the clinching match. And what happens? Ethan Eisenhower, Jackson Stone, they win the clinching point, again, down 5-4. They win 4 straight games. And for you tennis fans out there, they were actually down a break of serve. So they were down 5-4, and Collierville serving. That was the day I went out. Like, I'm going to all these events.
Never left.
I hunkered down at tennis for a while because the Franklin girls were also playing.
Yeah.
It was so exciting. Coach Bates does a great job there at Ravenwood. I was hanging out with Coach Elrod and Reggie Mason on that day. It was just such an exciting event to be a part of. Congratulations to Ravenwood.
Yes, big time. I did not know it was that tight, though. So,
tight.
Break a serve, does that mean you're 1 point away from its
No, it's 5-4.
Gotcha.
But Collierville's serving.
Yes.
So it's not like it's even where 5-4 and it's Ravenwood serve. Collierville up a break and they're serving.
What was the crowd like?
It was pretty wild. And, you know, a lot of, it gets a little rowdier than you think. People like doing a little extra talking, kind of in between points, saying stuff they shouldn't. Not like cursing or something, but just, you know. Yeah, there you go.
I got you.
Yeah, he's not ready. Or, you know, one of those. Or maybe cheering for a double fault.
Not like that dude in the locker. Not like that dude in the dugout for Pigeon Forge.
Very similar, actually. Hey, here's another thing that happens. So individual tournament happens the next day. Eisenhower and Stone come right back, and they win again. They win the doubles, and they play the same Collierville team in the final. This is a full match, though. They win 6-3, 6-4. They didn't drop one set over 3 matches. So great tournament, not only on the team side, but also the doubles individual tournament. Ethan Eisenhower and Jackson Stone.
That's pretty cool, man. Congratulations to them.
And you know I love some tennis now.
You love tennis.
I'm into tennis there. Girls side.
Were you critiquing it like you do basketball? I mean, to yourself, like.
No, these guys can play.
They got it?
Yeah.
Coach.
They'd probably, yeah, that's what they'd say to me. On the girls' side, Franklin in the semifinals, they defeat Cookeville 4-0. They get wins for Lisa and Sophia Messier. Also, Barr and Shantz get a win. They move into the championship, and I was feeling pretty good about it. They play Science Hill, hit a great team, but I believe Franklin was feeling pretty confident. They get 1 win in singles. That's at number 1, Lisa Messier, and they didn't get to the doubles. They had a match there at the end that could have gone either way. If it goes to the doubles, I feel like Franklin would have probably pulled it out, but Science Hill, they play 5 singles matches. They clinched it during the singles, so
they don't even play the doubles.
Didn't even play. And here's what's interesting about it. And in the year, during the season, they might finish it just as a courtesy. If you're in the middle of your match and someone else clinches, they just stop it. They're like, that's it's over. Yeah,
pull the plug.
That's it. That happens, which sometimes does happen because you notice that semifinal score is 4-0.
Yeah.
So there's 5 singles matches. So one of the matches they just said, I'm just wondering if you do this. So let's say you're getting smoked, your team is, and you know you're gonna lose. Do you start stalling so you don't get the loss, but somebody else does?
I think you do. Pull a hand. Time.
I need a break. That way you're.
Don't give anybody ideas.
No, yeah, this is what'll be happening now next year. Hey, moving on to the individual tournament in doubles, the sister team of Belle and Vivi Huddleston, a freshman and junior, by the way. They make it all the way to the championship before losing in 3 sets to a team from Science Hill. Again, they're from the team champion. They get beat 6-4, 2-6, 6-2. So great showing for the Huddlestons.
I would think the Lady Admirals have a very good chance of being back.
Bruins, Brentwood.
Correct.
I didn't transition. Franklin team, Brentwood.
Gotcha.
That's my fault.
They will be back.
They'll be back. And, you know, just like we talked about before, if you survive our district in tennis, just like a lot of other sports, but you really have a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. Tate, I want to finish with this because we talk about this a lot. This is kind of the year in review. And we're going to talk about some things that stand out to us. As a district, 8-team state championships, 7-team runners-up. Pretty good year.
It's very strong.
Now, we look at the schools there. What stands out to you about that?
You know, you want to list them real quick?
Sure.
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Team championships. Brentwood 3, Fairview 1, Nolansville 1, Ravenwood 1, Summit 1. Pretty diverse there. Team runners-up, 7, Brentwood 1, Franklin 4, Page 1, Ravenwood 1. The first thing that jumped out to me is Franklin with 4 runner-ups. Franklin athletics on the rise.
And, you know, when we get down to this Director's Cup,
those points add up.
That could have been a difference. So, you know, if you reverse those and say Franklin wins 4, Brentwood runner-up in those 3, maybe makes a difference.
No doubt.
We shall see.
Something jumps out to you, I know, but let's get to those individual championships first, and then it'll kind of paint the whole picture.
13 individual champions. Brentwood 4, Fairview 3, Ravenwood 4, Nolansville 1, Independence 1. Individual runners-up, Brentwood 3, Centennial 1, Fairview 6, Franklin 1, Independence 2, Nolansville 1. You could probably tell by how I emphasize it there, but Fairview, they have 3 individual champions. They have 6 runners-up, and it's like you mentioned before. I think it's the story of the year, actually. Fairview athletics, big time on a climb. Just like you said, I think for years it was football, right? Bubba, Derrick, and wrestling on the. It's not that football's dropped off. These other sports have really risen. Fairview.
Yeah, Franklin did it. I mean, football did it. Then basketball did it. Wrestling, runner-up, state champ, and now they're all following suit. It's really fun to watch. But I also love, you know, you got 5 schools. 5 schools with at least 1 team championship. That's got to make you pretty proud.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, you obviously 9 schools in the district, very well represented. You know, something else that did stand out if you're talking about the total body of work, team champions, Brentwood 3. They have a team runner-up. They have 4 individual champions and 3 runners-up. So, once again, great year by Brentwood, too. Maybe we expect that a little bit more, though.
It usually happens. I mean, you know you're going to get at least 1 in the fall.
Hey, and it's no coincidence, by the way, because, again, you know I'm a big proponent of this. They lead WCS in multi-sport athletes. You can't tell me it doesn't make a difference.
Has to.
Tate, great show, great season. Love it.
Yeah, man. That was fun. Congrats to all our athletes and coaches. Job well done. 8 trainers. Couldn't have done it without the trainers and the administrators, parents. Really cool. And we got one more big event left.
And speaking of, next week's show, we're going to talk all Wilco Awards. June 15th, it's coming.
Put a nice bow on this thing.
Nice bow on it. Can't wait.
Do you have any extra tickets? Should we invite our friend from Gallatin?
Maybe.
Maybe. Can you send him a link?
Go fan link, by the way. Going ticketless, so to speak. Well, not ticketless, but it's going to be electronic.
I think you ought to.
Tate, I appreciate you being here.
Always, brother.
Always a good time. We appreciate you guys for joining us every week, and we'll see you next time on Sports Connection.